Your community is unique in that you have a REMA. This REMA is a governing document that limits certain uses and prescribes certain actions. In this case, under the REMA, it does require that the property be maintained as a golf course or for open space. What we're proposing to do is recognizing the limitations that the golf course condition presents today and how the prior owners left it in its disrepair condition. Recognizing we have at least $1 million of irrigation and sprinkler improvements that have to be required before we can do anything. Our hope is to adjust the size of the golf course, bring in residential product types that actually can funnel and fund the cost of rehabilitation and creation of a new golf course, thereby being consistent with the REMA, subject to whatever revisions we might work together on. That's set forth in the REMA itself. First, it requires approval by 2/3 of the Cotton Fields homeowners. Number 2, it requires approval by the Cotton Fields HOA. And number 3, it requires approval of the golf course operator, which is essentially us. We're looking forward to working together to find a reasonable solution and a REMA amendment that meets the terms that are satisfactory to all the parties, and hopefully come back to you for approval. The owners of the golf course are committed to commencing construction of the golf course first, and we'll proceed with that before they begin the residential component. It's a great question. I think that's one that we are looking to figure out together. At a minimum, we know that we'll be asking to take out the future residential product and remove it from the REMA. Secondly, we want to make sure that this REMA reinforces the requirement of the golf course, its operations, its components, its timing and sequencing for construction and commencement of operations. Another key component that we see necessary for the REMA is oversight committee. How that is implemented and executed is part of the negotiation effort. We expect there'll be some other considerations that we haven't yet thought of, but together and collectively with your help, we'll create a REMA document that the community can support, that the HOA's attorney can agree to, and ultimately can come before this committee for an approval. That's an excellent question. I think that's probably one of the most important things, is making sure that what we agree to stands the test of time. And where we have unique abilities is because the REMA is an enforcement document, and 2, the zoning ordinance is an enforcement document. While the REMA gives you neighbors the ability to enforce things, you can also leverage that with your city council member, planning department, city management, and other city agencies to make sure that the developer follows through and completes the conditions of approval that are part of the zoning case. The answer is no. These new residences will be subject to their own separate HOA. It will not cause any increase in the fees, dues, or obligations of the separate and different Cotton Fields HOA. As we file the zoning case, we'll also have to include a traffic impact study. We have yet to start that. We will begin that process soon once we understand how many units and what type of product will be created with this plan. The city will review that traffic study. They'll make suggestions to us on what we need to do with regard to the roadway improvements, where decel lanes are required, where roadways need to be widened, where traffic lights may be needed, where bus bays may be required, all the things that you would normally expect with fully improved streets. That traffic study will also tell us if we will overload or if these roadways will be designed for the volumes that we will create. At the end of the day, we can't move forward with any proposal that is not supported by the city and satisfies all their engineering standards. We have a few different competing processes. One is the REMA amendment, the other is the zoning case. We are committed that we will not begin the zoning case until we're comfortable and have the approvals necessary to amend the REMA. Once we have that REMA amended and we file our zoning case, it will typically take about 8 months before it can get to City Council for approval. After that, there are some technical processes like site plan review, building code review before we can get building permits. But we will commit to one thing, that we will not commence construction of the residential phase until we commence construction of the golf course, that those will either occur concurrently or at a minimum the golf course will start first.